The top of my left screen says live on YouTube. I wonder if we're live already.
I would assume so.
Okay. Okay, we're live.
Very good. My name is Jason Perot, and I call to order this September 8th, 2020 meeting of the Groundwater Advisory Committee for the town of Northborough. We have some preliminary information to go through first for the purpose of this remote meeting. This open meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which is posted at the top of our agenda for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. This meeting is being convened using the Zoom application and is being live streamed on YouTube. The live stream link is also posted on today's agenda. For the participants in this meeting, please be aware that the meeting is being recorded and that you are visible by video. You may want to mute when you're not speaking to ensure that any unwanted sound does not disrupt the meeting. Let's see. I, as chair, will introduce the speaker for each agenda item. After that presenter concludes their remarks, I'll go through the members of the board to invite their comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. And if you have any questions for the applicant, please conduct those through the chair. Similarly, if you have any comment for another board member, please do so through the chair. And wait to be recognized before commenting. Remote meeting. Each vote will be taken by roll call. That pretty much concludes the preliminary matter. We'll just go through briefly to identify the participants in the meeting and check by audio that they are all accessible. I'm Jason Perot, representative of the Board of Selectmen. Amy Paretsky, representative of the Planning Board.
Here.
Teresa Capobianco, representative of the Board of Health.
Here.
Brian Furman, representative of Water and Sewer Commissioners.
Here.
And Diane Goldner, representative of the Conservation Commission.
Here.
Thank you. We also have Town Engineer Fred Litchfield. Fred.
I'm here.
And also connected is Melanie Rich, who will be monitoring proceedings and will be preparing our minutes for this meeting. Please be sure to speak in a manner that makes it easy to record and reproduce the minutes. With that, I think we're ready to proceed to the first applicant. First item on the agenda is to consider the petition of William and Christine Poutre for a special permit per Groundwater Protection Overlay District to construct a two-family dwelling at 399 Hudson Street, map 30, parcel 81 in the residential C district and located within Groundwater Protection Overlay District number 3. We have, let me see.
Peter Beavis from Engineering Design Consultants. I'm going to allow him in, and then he can tell us if anybody else from his team needs to be admitted.
Okay, and I also see Christine Poutre here.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, Peter Bemis. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
muted. Peter, yeah, there you are.
I didn't see anyone for a bit, so I tried calling in, so you'll have to forgive me.
Ah, very good.
Given
I'm
the
Jason
hope that Fred was gonna
Perot,
be there.
chairing this Groundwater Advisory Committee meeting tonight. I see we also have, is it Mr. William Poutre?
Mike is Did I admit him by mistake?
We
I
have,
see Bill's picture, but he's muted.
Just tell me, can I come back on the way?
yep, there you are.
I'm on mute. This is Bill Poutre. How are you?
Thank you. And Mike
excuse me,
Pisani,
go
are
on.
you on for this item or no?
I'm on the second. I'm with Maytech Instruments.
We're gonna kick him out for a few minutes.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
See you in a few, yeah.
All right.
And I just want to ask, are you aware of anyone else on your connecting to this meeting on your behalf, or you two are the representatives, Peter and?
Yeah, that's right. Bill is the proponent and I am the representative.
Video.
Okay, very good. So we have the applications in front of us. Fred, do you want to just quickly summarize and then we can go for presentation?
Sure. The applicant is proposing a duplex at 399 Hudson Street, a piece of vacant land. The parcel meets the criteria for a special permit for duplex. There is a review memo from me with a few items that are missing. I did speak to Peter this afternoon and said that they believe they can address all of those areas that need to be submitted in the next few days. So I guess the best thing to do is to have him make a presentation of his design and then walk through the letter.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Fred. Peter, why don't you go ahead and present what you'd like to present.
Great, thank you very much. So Peter Bemis, Engineering Design Consultants. This is a 30,000 square foot lot. It was part of an approval not required subdivision that the planning board had endorsed. This parcel was made large enough for the duplex configuration that's being proposed. We've got soil absorption systems that are going to be supported by each unit. We will have town water and public utilities for the remaining services on the site. It's a fairly level lot with some grading up to the south. The lot is on the north side of Hudson Street, and not a great deal of earth has to be moved. It's going to be moved kind of from left to right, and pretty much all stay on the lot. As part of the soil testing that was done, the site is very suitable for infiltrative drainage. So we took advantage of that by taking all of our roof water and infiltrating that. And then we're also proposing to treat the driveway water and then infiltrating that as well. So that we've got two separate systems, one for the driveway and then one for the roof area. The details on the plan included the infiltrator systems as well as the contact treatment system. So it's a fairly complete plan set in order to construct the program as proposed. Again, as Fred said, it does meet zoning. We do have to get a special permit from the planning board and the zoning board of appeals for this proposal. We did have cover letters to both the zoning board and the planning board, but they don't really specifically talk to the items before your committee for review. So I probably would just go into Fred's commentary letter. He did have a total of 9 items, many of which we have already addressed. It was our fault for not including the drainage calculations. They were prepared to support the infiltrative drainage system, but it did not make it into the CD or the print packages that were dropped off. So Fred's first requirement in item 1 is that we do supply that. Walter Lewinsky is the professional engineer that's involved in the project. He did do the drainage calculations, and he is certainly technically qualified to certify that the quality and supply of underlying groundwater resources would not be degraded with the proposal. Fred also alluded to the fact that we do have a 30,000 square foot lot. We are allowed 660 gallons of effluent to be discharged, and the soil absorption systems are 330 systems, so we are not exceeding that. And I can also assure you that the impervious cover for the lot is not being exceeded with the proposal. Fred also suggested that the driveway be narrowed as it intersects with Hudson Street. We're fine with that. Walter had made one larger driveway. What we're probably going to do is have just 2 smaller entry driveways left and right. So we will submit a revised site plan for that. That takes care of his item 3. Item 4 was the ownership. We're suggesting that they do a condominium form of ownership here, although it wouldn't prevent someone from being a single owner and renting one side. In all likelihood, it would probably be sold as a condominium and 2 independent but connected building units. So that would make it easier for maintaining the drainage system, and the responsibilities would be the homeowners association. The condition of doing a permeability test, again, extensive soil testing was done on the lot, but not right where the soil absorption, excuse me, where they were done right where the soil absorption systems are proposed in the reserve areas, not where we propose to put the leaching areas for the stormwater. But again, this site is located in a highly suitable area. We don't anticipate a problem. Based upon the soil absorption system testing, we will have more than a minimum 2-foot offset to groundwater for those systems, because we can interpolate from where the testing was done. An O&M plan would be provided. It's a standard operating procedure for us with a facility like this, and honestly, we could have supplied that. We just did not include it with the drainage calculation. And his next item was prior to site work that a final set be submitted. That's a condition that makes a lot of sense. And then an as-built. We would always do an as-built for a project like this, so I see no problem with that being a condition as well. So I'm hopeful the board would support the proposal as it's presented and condition it on all of the items that Mr. Litchfield put in his letter to you. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Fred, do you have any further comment?
I do not. I think that the drainage calculations are the main thing that is missing. The water quality certificate is usually done by the professional engineer who supplies the drainage calculation. So those will come together at the same time. I don't have any other outstanding items. Everything else seems to meet. The size of the lot does support the 2 3-bedroom units, no more. So there should be some kind of a limit in any recommendation to the ZBA and or the planning board that there not be any more than 6 bedrooms between the 2 units. I really don't have anything else. I think that if the applicant submits that information, the drainage calcs, O&M plan and the water quality certificate in the next few days, that I will have more than enough time to review it and recommend approval to the ZBA should the committee want to make their recommendation contingent upon that happening.
Okay, very good, Fred. Mr. Bemis, do you think it's easy enough to satisfy those requirements within the next couple of days?
Yes, I do. I had actually suggested to Fred I could get them to him this afternoon, but I didn't think it was fair or appropriate.
Okay.
He made it clear that he would tell them he just got them, and I said, okay, well then we're both going to save ourselves the time with that.
Sure. Very good. Okay. I'll now go to the board members. Let me start with Bryant, because Bryant, we can't see you, so I don't know if you can signal whether or not you want to have any comment or question.
No, plans look fine to me.
Okay, very good. And similarly, Diane, I'm sorry, Bryant, did you have another comment?
No.
Okay, sorry. Diane, any comment or question?
Where the houses or condos, whatever they are, going to be located exactly on the lot, this little fine print is hard for me to read. But is it down near just behind the 3 lots that are already there?
This is the 4th one in the row, and the setbacks are fairly similar to the other ones that were built.
Okay.
Showing the plan, it's 54 feet. So it's centered on the lot as well, fairly centered.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Diane, is that any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Amy?
Sure. I just had a question. Is it oil or gas that the houses will be on?
If there's natural gas available there, we would connect to that. Otherwise, it would be propane.
Okay.
You know, this builder that's going to build here would not build with oil heat.
Okay. And also, you did say the septic and soil absorption systems for up to 6 bedrooms, but on the plans it shows a office or an exercise room upstairs. So it does show in the future, if a family wanted, it could become 8 bedrooms. Would this system allow 8 bedrooms if it happened in the future? I know Fred said to limit it to 6, but other than limiting on the deed, I don't know who would ever enforce that. So if it did become 8 bedrooms in the future, can those systems handle it?
Yeah, no, we would put a restriction in that those could not be converted to bedrooms. I noted that with the plan, the way it is proposed. The soil absorption systems, that if you're asking me if the site could support it, yes, the site definitely could support it, but we are intentionally restricting it. You don't allow it, that's the maximum is 3 bedrooms, and we would make sure the language was in there as such. Being condominium form of ownership, that it wouldn't be in either party's best interest to put more bedrooms here than was allowed.
Right. Did the exercise room have a closet? I couldn't tell because they were small.
Yeah, I don't believe it does, but I don't think anyone's trying to be cute with it either.
No, I was just curious.
No, that's okay. The intent is for it to be 3 bedrooms, and the language will be very explicit in not only the condo documents, but all the approvals that are granted. By all means, we are saying this is 3 bedrooms. It will be 3 bedrooms on each side.
Okay. And what happens, Fred, if it goes to 4? Like I know the ones down on Whitney Street, the candle factory ones were supposed to be 2, and now they're all 3 to 4. What happens if it isn't upheld? Who enforces that?
If it's not my area.
Yeah.
However, if it comes to the town's attention that there are more bedrooms in the building than permitted by the bylaw and the permit that's granted, it would be a zoning violation, and the building inspector could issue stop order or cease and desist, or he has a number of tools available to him to go forward with that, and if necessary, he could bring it to court. It would be a zoning violation. The special permit granted can only be for 6 bedrooms max, based upon the size of the lot. In this case, a subsurface sewage disposal system can't be designed for any more than 6 bedrooms in total for this particular lot. So one unit could have 4 and one unit could have 2, or they could both have 3, but in total, there cannot be more than 6.
Okay. And so that's all I have. You haven't gone over the impervious. That's what he just said.
I have not. The drainage calculations usually submitted usually indicate what the impervious cover is. The plan, and Peter has confirmed that with our phone call earlier this afternoon, that they are proposing to recharge 100% of the impervious cover that's being proposed. So there would be, technically there would be 0 impervious cover in the post condition. What we do is we allow people to recharge whatever they can, and then that area that's recharged, the driveway and the roof in this case, would be subtracted from the impervious cover that's proposed, and that usually helps people to get under the 15% limit. In this case, he's proposing 100%, so that's what he would be allowed, provided the drainage calculations bear that out.
Okay.
All set, Amy?
I'm all set. Yep.
Thank you.
Mr.
Teresa?
Chairman,
I'm sorry, yes.
that's Brian. I had a concern about the number of bedrooms also. They both have, you could argue that there are at least 4 bedrooms, probably 5, because the exercise room and the office both have closets and a window, and the minimum requirement square footage for a bedroom. So I don't want to get into a debate, but I assume the Board of Health looked at that in calculating what was being done. Years ago, if it was, could be a bedroom, we counted it as a bedroom. If there's going to be the chance that 2 additional rooms, and unlike yours might be, you got 8 to 10 people there, I would ask that maybe we do a breakout calculation for the system that's to the south, I believe. The one on the left facing the unit from Hudson Street. There's a pretty good slope adjacent to that leaching area. I don't know how Fred feels about that. And I don't know what the Board of Health approval consisted of. So, but I did have that same concern that Amy had.
My
Fred,
only
do you-
response would be that they're trying to market these, as upscale units. They're really not trying to maximize bedroom count.
No, but in the past, if it looks like a bedroom, if it's got a window, if it's got a closet, then that was included in the calculation under Title V. I don't know if that's changed in the last 5 years, but that's the way it was. So I just wanted to make sure the Board of Health was comfortable with the enforceability of 6 bedrooms total.
Brian and Amy, this is Bill Poutre. I'm the applicant, and I'd be fine with getting rid of any closets if they exist. It's not the intent. The intent is to have an exercise room and an office, and if that would take care of that concern for you, I'd be fine with doing that. I think everybody realizes that, almost our homes, we need to be multi-purpose rooms at this point, especially today, right, as we're all sitting here. And so that's the purpose. Nothing more, there's nothing devious about this in any way. And if that is something that would make people cure the concern that people might have, I wouldn't have an issue with that.
No, I wasn't being picky or insinuating you were trying to do something under the table. My bigger concern was how the Board of Health was reviewing the plan. And that's beyond my purview here. So it's just a comment, I guess, for Fred.
It's more than a fair comment. And I just wanted to address that as the applicant to say,
if the Board of Health's happy,
that's not our intent at all.
Okay, fine, okay.
Just to hopefully alleviate some concerns, even if the septic system were designed for more than 6 bedrooms in total or 3 on each side, there would still be the deed restriction, there would still be the special permit that indicates it's limited to 6 bedrooms in total for the 2 units. And then it is very difficult to make sure that they don't become bedrooms in the future, but the deed restriction and the special permit with that limit, I believe, is about all we can do.
The other only option might be that the occupancy permit states that.
I believe it will, but I can make sure that the building inspector agrees that is what happens with the occupancy permit. I did not look at the septic design, to be honest with you, so I don't know if it's been to the Board of Health or not yet.
Okay, just my comments.
Okay.
Throw it in someone else's lap.
Thank you, Brian. Teresa, I was going to Teresa. There we are.
Thank you. So from a Board of Health perspective, the health agent normally reviews the septic designs. The board itself doesn't necessarily get involved in every application. I haven't seen this one come across my desk as of yet. So I can't speak to what the health agent has or hasn't done with this specific application. My concern about this plan was the 3 bedrooms identified, plus an exercise and an office. And I do understand, especially in light of today's, the way we're all living today, the need that we all have for extra rooms in our house. And I think it's a great idea, and I wish I could do one in my house. But I do think that removing the closets and either doing shelving or just blank walls might alleviate some of those concerns. It's certainly no longer, if I'm walking through that house for the first time, I'm not going to say, oh, this could be the nursery or this could be so-and-so's bedroom. If those closets aren't even there, it's not even an upfront option. Otherwise, it's just sort of tempting people to say, well, I know it's a 3-bedroom, but let's give it a go. So I would feel more comfortable if those bedrooms were removed from that perspective. Other than that, I'm fine with the application.
Okay, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
I just in thinking about, I mean, I don't know what the design approach is in terms of the floor plan and everything like that. If the purpose of the closets is to provide storage, I don't know if there's a different design approach that could be used so that you have closet-less rooms and then additional storage capacity in some form elsewhere in the floor plan. So perhaps that's an option. I'm not sure if that's an option, but certainly it would eliminate the concern that that these rooms are readily available as bedrooms or convertible to bedrooms. The other, so I had a, yes, Fred, go ahead.
It may be as simple as eliminating the windows. If a window is required for a room to be considered a bedroom and the windows are not allowed to be built, they would need a building permit to add the windows later, and hopefully the building inspector would catch the fact that it's being converted from a closet or an exercise room without a window to what could be considered a bedroom, and that would be a violation. I can check with him to find out the criteria for what defines a bedroom. I believe it includes a door and a window for egress, but I'm
I
not
see.
100% sure on that. So,
Fred, with all due respect, I feel like for marketability, getting rid of a window and making a cave might be a little bit difficult. The point, you know, I'm sitting here talking to you all right now from my bedroom, as you can probably see, and it would be much easier to do that from an office. So the closets, I don't have an issue with whatsoever. The windows, I might have more of an issue with.
not all the windows, just the window in the closet or in the exercise room is what I was suggesting.
Right, but that would leave those two rooms without any window at all. And that might be a little bit more difficult. Again, getting rid of the closets, I have no issue. There's no desire to beat a system or to do any of that or to do anything nefarious here. And if the closets are really the issue, I have no problem getting rid of them. The thought, I mean, I know in my office I have, you know, I've always had a closet. I don't have one in this house right now, and that's again why I'm speaking to you from a bedroom. But I'd prefer to get rid of the closets if at all possible. Getting rid of windows, in my mind, would make it really cave-like, and I think that would really affect the marketability and of the unit. Just my opinion.
So, yep, understood. And so tracing all this back, we're talking about the potential use of rooms as bedrooms, which would exceed the 3 or 6, I should say, limit for purposes of septic management and groundwater. So we've traversed quite a path here. I guess, you know, I don't have anything specific to ask or require for purposes of my evaluation here in that regard. But I guess I would just leave some of that to the town engineer and the building inspector as to what kinds of restrictions are put in place and what kind of enforcement takes place to ensure that the capacity is not exceeded. It's as intended. Regarding the impervious cover, I may have overlooked a number in here somewhere that might indicate that. What is the percentage relative to the lot according to this design?
Normally we have that on our recap, and I was looking for that and I don't see it, other than I was assured when Walt did this that we were under the requirement, but we still infiltrated 100% of our impervious areas. So I will make sure that it is placed on the plan. I know your committee is making a recommendation to the other boards.
Right.
And I've been making notes. So what I was going to say to you is that that's one of the notes, was to add that coverage point. And then to circle back on the bedrooms, I was also going to add a note that explicitly states, so that there's continuity with all our documents, that there will be 6 bedrooms. So all permit plans that we prepare will state that, just for added reinforcement. Then your decisions will say it, and then the record documents are going to say it. And it's going to be very clear to everyone that that's what the intent of this approval was 6
Okay.
bedroom.
Very
Thank
good. About the driveway redesign, originally proposed at 48 feet, is that right? And now being
So what,
kind of subdivided into
Fred
two
had said
separate
24
lots. Yeah?
Right, so Fred said 24, but then what I'd said to him was, I think what would look a lot nicer is to kind of come in on each end. So where the turnouts are, we would just extend those, so it would be like a circular driveway, and it's gonna look a lot nicer too. Walt can be very engineer sometimes, and I sometimes have to stop and say, why does it look this way? Because he engineered it.
Right,
And I think
right.
that this would have looked a lot better as a driveway that would have looked like a common driveway, if you will.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna make that edit, and it's gonna swing in from the north and south ends, or the east and west ends of the lot, depending how you want to look at it.
Okay.
So it'll look a lot nicer to the street. Thank you.
Yep. And that would actually be a net reduction of impervious?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Or it could
Okay.
be an equal, but the idea is that it's gonna look a lot nicer too.
Okay,
Aesthetically.
sure. Right. I have no further questions. Any other questions by board or committee members? I can see Amy and Teresa shaking their heads. Bryant, any further questions?
No, they've been addressed. Thank you.
And Diane, any further questions?
No, not tonight, thank you.
Fred, you have something?
Just a couple of comments to Peter. The fact that he's indicating 100% recharge, I just would like to make sure that when you revise your plan, you show how you're going to capture all the roof runoff. It looks like, I'm guessing that there are a couple of different ridge lines and the water goes in different ways. Just want to make sure that that's verified. If we put in the permit that you're allowed, that you're proposing 100% recharge, we need to make sure that all that roof can be captured and sent into those systems. And the same thing with the driveway. I had actually envisioned 12 feet on either side of the line being the driveway and just kind of sculpting out those turnarounds a little bit further to have one entrance and one opening on Hudson Street rather than two openings, which might encourage one lot to go over the other lots, although I'm sure there'll be a cross easement to go back and forth. So give it some thought either way. But I want to make sure all that water can get into the infiltration areas, both from the roof and the driveway, if that's what your plan is.
Yeah, it would be, Fred. And the other thing is sometimes we do have situations, especially where they do the bump outs for like a fireplace, with those zero clearance fireplaces that ends up with a little shed roof. And you say, well, I'm not going to put a roof drain on that. So what we do is we put filter strips in along the foundation, and we capture those and tie them in too. So there'll be a combination, but I'll make sure that if we tell you it's 100%, that we show 100%.
Well, there is, the bylaw does allow for a 15% lot coverage. So you have, a few thousand square feet of area that you could have as impervious as a limit. But if you say 100%, just need to be able to verify it. That's all.
All right.
We don't particularly like the filter strips because they can introduce water next to the foundation, which is never a good thing. So.
Okay. All right.
All right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I guess I would ask the chair if you have a motion or would like to entertain a motion.
Could you just quickly kind of walk through the conditions, Fred?
Sure. The items in my letter. Item 1, the applicant needs to address the 5 items that are required for every special permit. Basically, in this case, most of them are not applicable because it's a residential property to be used as residential property, but the water quality certificate that the design engineer needs to supply should be submitted, as well as the impervious cover calculation, whatever that may be, is providing that it's under the 15%. Item 2 talks about the 220 gallons per 10,000 square feet or the 6 bedrooms. That condition can be expanded to further clarify that a deed restriction should be required, and any occupancy permit should also limit the number of bedrooms to 6 bedrooms. The number of bedrooms in total to be 6. And then the driveway, condition number 3 talks about reducing the driveway, thus will require a revised site plan. And so that should be submitted and confirmed to be less than the 48 feet. And then the ownership is something that we generally recommend, and then the permit granting authority can require it in the decision so that there are documents recorded at the registry along with the special permit that clarify ownership and maintenance of certain aspects of the building and the property. The minimum of one permeability test in each infiltration area would be one of the conditions, and that the revised site plan should be able to provide the soil testing information to verify that the bottom of the infiltration area is 2 feet above the groundwater, stormwater operation and maintenance plan with outlining of ownership, and also reports coming to the town engineer for verification of maintenance has been done and what's happening to any material that is removed. And then the final set of plans, number 8 and number 9, the final set of plans with any changes that come about during this process would be reviewed and approved by the town engineer prior to the building permit, and then the as-built plan would come at the end prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
Very good. Thank you, Fred. Board members, do I have a motion to approve the application or to recommend approval of the application subject to the conditions that Fred has enumerated?
So moved.
Moved. Do I have a second?
Second,
Moved and seconded. Was that you, Diane?
yes.
Yep. Teresa moved, Diane seconded. Any further discussion by board members?
No.
I just have one question for the applicant.
Yep. Go ahead, Amy.
Since Fred hasn't gotten the stormwater maintenance and the impervious calculations and stuff, I'm just hoping he can get them at least a week to 10 days before it goes in front of the planning board, just so he has time to review it. I feel like some of the stuff comes in the afternoon and we haven't seen it yet. So for us to approve it without reading it tonight, I just want to give Fred enough time to review it before it goes in front of the planning board. I don't know if you already have it done, the stormwater operation and management maintenance plans.
It is done, but it's based upon the current plan, and we will have some revisions, but I'm not going to wait. I promise you.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay,
have to
it
be
just
before
seems to
you again,
happen.
and if I don't do it, you'll remind me.
I'm not blaming you. It just seems to happen all the time that everybody comes in front of us and they're not ready yet. And I'm on the
I
planning
hear
board,
ya.
so I just want to give Fred enough time to read it before
Yep.
the meeting.
Amy, do you know what the scheduled date is for the planning board review?
I really don't. I don't know if the applicant does. I don't think it's on the 15th. I think it must be the one after.
October.
It is in October. Actually, Amy, thank you for looking out for me. I appreciate that. And the agreement that I had with Peter is that he would get those calculations and all remaining documents to me by the end of the week,
Yeah.
so that I have time to review them next week, as I'll have to include that in my report to the ZBA, which is meeting on the 22nd. So
Okay.
2 weeks from tonight is when they're meeting. All that information needs to be in so that I can review it and make sure that it's part of the package when I send it off to the ZBA, and then it'll be part of the package to the planning board later on at their meeting in October. So I fully expect that Peter will get it to me by the end of the week. And if not, then I would have to indicate to the ZBA that they're not ready.
Okay. All right, thanks.
And if I could just ask, what form will that information arrive in? Is that hard copy? Is that electronic form to Fred?
We can do it both ways. I have no problem delivering a hard package to Fred, as well as the PDF, because I'd like it to be distributed to board members. I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, if this supplementary information is in PDF form or something like that, it would be just easy to forward it to this committee's members just for
Sure.
their information and review and satisfaction that the requirements have been satisfied leading into the ZBA and planning board reviews.
No problem. That we'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion to recommend approval. This is a roll call vote. Bryant,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Teresa,
Aye.
and I will also vote aye, so it carries unanimously. Recommend approval. So thank you very much for your information and patience, and we wish you good luck in front of the other boards.
Thank you for your help.
Yep.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right, so the next applicant is 56 Hudson Street. I know that Mike Pisani wants to come back in, and Randy Waterman. There is someone on the list named Tom, who I'm not quite sure if he's associated with Randy or Mike Pisani, so I'll admit them, and then we can ask if they want to bring Tom along or if Tom is somebody else who just showed up.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
Welcome back, Mike.
Got,
Can you hear us, Mike?
I can, it's Matt.
Oh, Matt, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No problem.
Sorry about that. How about you, Randy? Can you hear us?
Looks like Randy's connecting but not succeeding.
Those guys left, so I think we're all set.
Right.
While we wait for Randy to connect, Matt, do you know if Tom is part of your group?
He should be. I forwarded him the link, so he should be here.
Is that Tom Reardon?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let him in then too.
Okay,
Dave.
yep.
And there's somebody that's called in.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. That might be Randy. It might be why he's having trouble connecting to the audio. Hey, Tom, just unmute yourself and let us know.
I am with both these gentlemen.
All right. And does somebody know someone's trying to call in a 617 number? I'm not sure if that's Randy and he's having trouble with his audio or if that's someone else.
Don't have his number.
Let me see if Randy's,
You must have got a city phone, right?
yeah.
So I would get that caller.
And then, okay. All right, Jason, under advice of my colleague here, I am going to admit the telephone number and hope that that's Randy. And if not, we'll kick him back out.
Okay, that sounds good.
Say hello.
Hello, Randy, is that you?
Yes,
Okay, so
There
you're
we are.
trying to connect by audio, but you're on the phone.
yeah, I've been sitting here since 6 and it says Groundwater Advisory Meeting and it says we will add you shortly, and that's what it's told me a couple times on the phone as well.
Well, we can't see you, but we can hear you now.
Okay. Are you just starting this second meeting?
We are just starting. We're waiting for you before we moved on to the presentation. So whoever's going to make the presentation.
Well, let me first actually read the item on the agenda so that
Sorry about
people
that.
at home know what we're considering here. This is the next item to consider the petition of NB Real Estate. Okay, let me proceed. Please mute if you're not speaking so that we don't have any disruption. This is to consider the petition of NB Real Estate LLC for site plan approval and a special permit per groundwater protection overlay district to reconstruct an existing building at 56 Hudson Street, map 54, parcel 84 in the downtown neighborhood district and located within groundwater protection overlay district area 3. The applicant is NB Real Estate LLC. Representative, I have Ken Bishop with MATAC and Randy Waterman with WDA Design Group listed here on the agenda. So Matt, are you the applicant?
I am. I'm here for Ken tonight. He had a complication tonight, so I'm here for him.
Okay, thank you. And with that, again, Fred, if you could just briefly summarize and then we can proceed to the presentation. You're muted, Fred.
How's that? 56 Hudson Street is an existing industrial building that's been there for a number of years. I think the deed that came with it goes back at least 20 years, but it may have predated that as well. I'm not quite sure. The building, if anyone drives down Hudson Street, know that it's right off the street, a very small setback. There have been a number of changes over the years at that site, including a zone change, I believe, in 2009 that took it from industrial to downtown neighborhood. It is in groundwater 3, and therefore provided for you. And
sorry, Diane or Randy, could you mute, please?
Yes, I can. Let's see.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Okay, so there's a number of things that were not submitted with the original application that came in July. Some information did come in last week from Matt and Ken regarding the list of chemicals and MS sheets, which I have reviewed, but there are still a number of questions about drainage, impervious cover, as well as containment of the chemicals and how they're stored within the building. And I think that's really what we need to hear from Randy and his team.
Okay, thank you very much, Fred. Randy, do you want to proceed with the presentation? And unmute.
How's that?
That's good.
Yes, this is Randy Waterman from WDA, and Matt is the person that put together the chemical information, submitted that to the town last week. As Fred mentioned, the application is essentially to rebuild a portion of the existing building that is closest to Hudson Street. And as you travel from the center heading sort of in a easterly direction along Hudson Street, you'll cross Cold Harbor Brook, and that's the beginning of the section of the building that is to be replaced. And then it goes for about 160 feet or so. So that first section that you pass on your right is going to be replaced. The second section that you would pass if you kept going until you got to River Street, that is going to remain intact. So it's just about half of that building that would be taken away and rebuilt on essentially the same footprint. There's a small section of it about 10 feet wide on the south side of the building that will connect to the other existing building on site just to make one complete enclosed building. But other than that small 10-foot section, the rest of the building is being rebuilt on the same foundation. There's a small section of the building that is closest to Cold Harbor Brook, where the building is being squared off slightly, so the building will actually be pulled probably about 6 feet or so away from the brook at that closest end. And so it gets a little bit smaller at that point, but it's a small amount larger on the south side that I just mentioned, where it's 10 feet wider. So in total, that existing building is 2 stories, and it's about a 6,500 square foot footprint right now. And so on each floor. And the new building would be 3 stories, but there's no plan to have any more employees. It's really to make the whole operation more efficient, make the rooms large enough that they can accommodate what's being manufactured in each of them and stored in those offices. So there's no additional parking proposed on site. There's actually no trees being removed on site. And like I say, almost all of the work is within the existing building footprint. The small section that is behind the building, that is currently covered in crushed stone, and there's a few little concrete pads in there. So even that area has no natural vegetation on it today. So that area will be covered with the new building, and essentially, again, really doesn't change the permeable surface since that's all currently crushed stone and not vegetated. In total, the building covers, all the buildings on site cover about 25,000 square feet of space, and the parking is another around 12,000 square feet. So roughly just over 50% of the site is impervious, and with the and then that creates about 46% of the site is open space. With the new addition, that doesn't change. It's under 1,000 square feet of increase in impervious surface on the entire site. So it's a very, very small amount. As Fred mentioned, we did not submit drainage calculations. I guess the original thought was that the drainage hadn't really changed, and there was some infiltration that was provided years ago for one of the other additions. So that was an oversight on our part, knowing that it's a requirement of the groundwater district and the town. So we do have one of our engineers working on running the existing conditions and the proposed hydrology, and just so we can demonstrate that there's essentially net zero change, or if we identify for some reason that there is any increase in runoff, then we certainly could provide some detention or retention or infiltration. But the early numbers looking at it looks like the change is less than 1,000 square feet, and it might even be closer to 200 square feet in total delta over what is there today. The building today at its northwest corner, as you're coming down Hudson, that first corner that you come to, has a little loading dock that's facing out towards Hudson Street. And that corner of the building is about 8.5 feet off of the street frontage. And so that's non-conforming today. And the way they are proposing to readjust that loading dock to turn it so loading trucks are not 90 degrees to Hudson Street, they would run more with the flow of direction of traffic. They would have a little bump out in that front setback to 8.2 feet instead of the 8.5 it is. And so that is supposed to be a minimum of 15 feet now. So that's the reason that this includes a variance in the application, is that building is currently non-conforming because of zoning, non-conforming because of that front yard setback. And as Fred mentioned, the zoning was changed from industrial to neighborhood back in 2009. So it was certainly pre-existing at that point in time. And the dimension is changing by several tenths, less than half a foot. But that is the current proposal. Matt could possibly talk more on the building if there's other questions, but there were architectural plans included to show that the panel system and the architectural style of the building is very similar to what is there today. And the whole purpose was really to make the whole building much more efficient and not to increase the number of people they need on staff at all.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Fred, do you want to walk us through your letter?
Sure. Okay, I'm not good. All right, so similar to the last application, the items that were not submitted were items 1 through 5 that are required with every special permit. Initially, the list of chemicals with quantities and volumes was not submitted. That has come in. I did review it. And further in my letter, I think I indicated the number of gallons that would need to be stored, but there's still some information that's missing regarding how they're stored, where they're stored, what can be stored next to each other, as some of those chemicals may not be suitable for side-by-side storage, and there may need to be different cabinets. And I would ask the applicant to research that a little bit more. I'm not quite sure, maybe they even have a system in place now that takes care of that. The containment cabinets need information regarding details about the size and the specifications of that, and then how many gallons they can store within the cabinet itself if any of the items that are stored in there leak. If anything is not stored within the cabinet and it's potentially allowed to mix with sprinkler water, there could be an issue if there are floor drains in the building. Again, I wasn't able to tell, and I apologize, Tom, if I missed it. If there were floor drains shown on the plans, I didn't see them. And if there aren't, that's even better. We just need to make sure that anything that were to spill inside the building can't mix with the sprinkler water or somehow get out into the parking lot and enter into the drainage system and get back into the groundwater. That's what we're really trying to prevent. The stormwater calculations, as Randy already talked about, is being worked on, and it will be necessary to have that submitted so that we can review it in time. So I can review it in time to meet with the ZBA if that's possible. My letter number 5 talks about floor drains, existing and proposed, sprinklers. The infiltration bed is shown on the plan, but there's no real calculations or indication of the size or any stormwater operation and maintenance plan that may have been in place for that previously. And I don't recall getting any stormwater reports indicating that maintenance has been done. So the applicant may actually have that. Sometimes they do it, they just don't submit it to the town. The project will require an earthwork permit. It will also need a permit from the Conservation Commission. And then the building inspector zoning interpretation called out 3 different sections. One talking about the expansion of existing non-conforming use. And then it talks about commercial development as allowed in the underlying district. And then it also talks about industrial, commercial or industrial activities, which involves accessory uses of manufacture or storage of chemicals, which Matt has submitted. So there are chemicals that need to be dealt with, and that's really the crux of what we have here. And then my last condition talks about as-built plan showing changes inside the building, outside the building, anything on the site. So I guess I'd like to hear a little bit more from the applicants about the chemical storage and how the drainage system might work inside the building as well as outside.
Yep.
All right, Tom, to my knowledge, we do not have floor drains. That is correct.
That's what I recall, yes.
Yeah, so the idea is not to have floor drains. We do have a containment cabinet in the existing building for certain chemicals, but I was going to defer to you guys to just you or the fire department to say which ones you would like to see in a containment and which ones were safe to be outside. Fortunately, we have an open floor plan and we can do just about anything. The idea was in the new building in the northwest corner on the first floor, we were going to designate as an area for the containment closets there. Other than that, you know, we were just looking for a little feedback as to far as what we submitted, what would need to be contained, and what is just a household or safe chemical.
Okay. The list of chemicals that you had a shaded area on the bottom half of that chart. Pretty much everything on that shaded area needs to be contained somehow.
Okay.
Whether you have 1 or 2, we need some specifications on the size and the type of the cabinet and the containment that it provides within the cabinet itself.
Okay.
Do you have sprinklers in the building?
We will have, yes.
You will, okay. And is if anything is exposed to sprinkler water in the event of a fire, then that water, I assume, could ultimately get outside the building and through a door jam or something, and then could mix in with the drainage in the parking lot. That's where the drainage computations and how that whole stormwater management would take into account storing that water itself.
Okay.
Would be necessary. So it gets a little bit more complicated than the last application, as the committee just spoke about. But it should be doable. It's just a lot more work in this case.
Sure. No, I mean, that would not be a problem. I was just, before we started putting a plan together, had an idea of what we needed to contain. Now that we know what we need to contain, we can determine the size of the closets we need, the containment area. Should not be an issue.
Okay, we can work with the fire department as well. I know they're very much interested in knowing what's in there. I've sent them the list of chemicals, but not all the MSDS sheets.
Okay.
We can talk to them about what can be stored in the cabinets together and what might need to be in separate cabinets. So some of the MSDS sheets indicated that they were not appropriate for storage in the same place.
Sure.
So we'll just want to make sure that we're not putting anything together that's not too dangerous by itself, but becomes dangerous if it's stored next to something else that is, or creates a combination. I guess that, for me, is the crux of what I need to review is not really there. So I guess the question is to Randy is, when would that be available?
The drainage we are working on now, so I would think we would be able to submit that by the end of the week.
Okay, and then along with all the stormwater operation and maintenance plan, and do you have any records, Matt, of any operation and maintenance that's been going on the drainage system that you have now that's in place?
I do not. I can research that and pull that up for you.
Okay. What we've done in the past is when there aren't records showing what's been done recently or what should have been done, then the engineer goes out and does an analysis of the system to make sure that it is working properly. Sometimes it involves some camera work. Sometimes it just involves talking to the facilities people, or if you have a contractor who comes in occasionally, but maybe you didn't have any records. We're looking to get an idea of how it's working now. Does it meet the drainage requirements for the stormwater, and what needs to be done to improve that? As always, whenever an existing site like this is redeveloped or slightly expanded or even repaving the parking lot, we try to get some improvement for groundwater quality, capture some more runoff somewhere, run it through water quality separator, and then send it on its way where maybe that wasn't happening before. And so that's what I'm looking for, is to see if there's anything we can do to improve the water quality coming off the site, and also maintain that anything that you have stored within the building is not entered into the drainage system in any way. Cabinets usually provide a pretty good source, because if there's a fire, then the sprinkler water can't get onto anything that's in the cabinet. The cabinets are protecting them. It's anything that's stored outside in the body of the work area that becomes an issue. So.
Okay.
Any questions from board members? I'll begin with Bryant.
No, I don't have any.
Diane. You're muted, Diane.
Yeah. No, I think everything was fine. Thank you.
Okay. Amy?
Hi. Yeah, I guess my question was about the chemical list. Is it the same amount of chemicals that have always been there before? Are there added chemicals?
I didn't see the list before, but really, I would have to assume they're the same, because nothing has really changed. I mean, as far as machines, processes, whatever, it's pretty much been the same for the last 10, 15 years.
So these are just chemicals you use to run your processes. It's not something that's created from your process.
No, we don't make chemicals. We just use the largest volume we have is for our milling machines. It's a coolant. And other than that, it's just paints, cleaners, things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess another question I had to do with the records and reports from before, but Fred already asked that. And Fred, you mentioned sprinklers and containing so it doesn't run outside. Would that be something that you need a tight tank for? Or it's better not to have a drain with a tight tank?
That one's tricky because they're connected to town sewer. So generally, floor drains can be connected to the town sewer. It depends on what's stored within the building. Some of the MSDS sheets that were submitted with the chemical list indicated that they should be kept from sewer and drains and waterways. So if there's an issue that we need to worry about sprinkler water mixing with some chemicals, then a tight tank might be necessary. It depends on what information comes back. So it's not going to be as simple as just saying, okay, the drainage calcs are all we need. It's going to have to be another review of the site plan and a little bit more involved than the previous applicant was.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think it's great that you go out and you're going to do some camera work and see how it's working. Because my concern was the two rivers right there too. But it sounds like tonight we probably don't have what we need to go forward with. We'll need another meeting for this. At least in my opinion. Wait to see what Fred comes back with.
It might be helpful. I'm not sure if everyone understands exactly what Maytech does. And I know there's a couple of buildings and what's done in each building. Maybe Matt could give us a little bit of a history or explanation of what they do and how they do it.
Sure. We build non-destructive ultrasonic testing equipment. Our customers are primarily aerospace. And basically what we do is our customers who are Boeing, Cessna, Lockheed, all the major airlines, we do a lot of work with defense, with military bases where they have a part that's already made and they need to know that the integrity of that part is good in this day and age with all the different bond layers and composites. They're not sure. Sure, it looks great, but inside they don't know if that door or that helicopter blade is good to put on the plane. So we build a system that basically shoots sound through the part and it creates a picture so it can find any defects or voids in the part before it goes on the plane or whatever the final use is. And it's just we do everything in-house. We have a fabrication, we do some welding, we have a machine shop where we make the parts, we have our own software team who works together to integrate this. So we build it up, the customer comes in, we like that, we don't like that, change this, change that, and we take it down and ship it. And we're fortunate where you have customers all over the world. Probably 80% of our business is domestic, about 20% is international. But, anybody wants to come down and take a tour, we typically always have something here. And because we build specifically to the part, we get, it's good and bad, never dull, but every system is a brand new system. It's not like a model ABC. Every single one is a new system. So we have the growing pains that you have when you're developing a single system every time. But so it's a challenge. It's good.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
So the system, Matt, that you develop is something that your customer takes and then they run all the parts that are made for that system through it. So you just do one of a kind and you're on to the next thing.
Correct. We build the system for the customer and the customer uses the system to inspect their own parts. We don't inspect their parts. We build the system that will allow them to inspect their parts.
Okay.
Got it. Amy, any more questions?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay. Teresa?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. I think I share some of Amy's concerns. I think there's some information that we need to firm up here before I would feel comfortable voting a recommendation to approve. I think it would be or would have been helpful if there are, kind of a backlog of maintenance records to understand what the current condition and maintenance has been for the existing system. We certainly would want to have some of that understanding. That's my feeling anyway. For purposes, so Fred, you have the information, the additional detailed information that you want to see before we proceed?
I do. It's pretty well laid out in the letter, the drainage calculations. It's good to know now that there are no floor drains, either existing or proposed, so we can move forward with that. Maybe get some information on the cabinets. I can have a chat with the fire department to make sure that there's nothing in the list that can't be contained within the same cabinet. There may need to be some requirement that nothing be left out in between shifts, or at the end of the day. I don't know if they work 24/7 or if they just have a day shift. So at the end of the shift, probably have things, make sure everything's returned to the cabinet so that in the event of a fire overnight, nothing is left out in a workspace and could potentially mix, something to that effect.
Right.
But I think there's enough that continuing the meeting tonight to our next meeting would be the most appropriate course of action, and give me some time to work with the applicant and his engineer to get the drainage, get it some comfort level as to that everything's working well now, and that if there's any changes necessary for the site, we can go forward with whatever is proposed and have a good plan.
Right. I certainly appreciate the purpose of this project to kind of modernize or reconfigure the existing facility to make it more efficient and improved. So certainly appropriate and desirable development to take place. I think we just need a little bit more information on some of these details to feel comfortable going ahead with recommending approval from this board for the considerations for groundwater. Is that by agreement of the board? I see Teresa nodding. I see Amy nodding. Bryant agreed to continue.
No, I agree 100%.
And Diane?
Yes, I agree also.
Okay, I think I require a motion for that. Fred, is that right?
Can't hurt.
So I will entertain a motion to continue the review of NB Real Estate LLC's application for 56 Hudson Street to Tuesday. What is that? October 13th?
On the agenda, it is October 13th.
October 13th at, I'll say 6 p.m.
Yes, that would be good.
Okay.
So moved.
It's moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Teresa, seconded by Diane. Roll call vote is required. Bryant?
Aye.
Diane?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So we'll continue this to October 13 and look forward to seeing the details.
Thank you. This is Randy. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Randy.
Randy.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Tom.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
And which brings us to the next item of business, review and approval of minutes of July 14th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July what was it?
July 14,
14th, 2020.
and a second.
I'll
Moved
second.
and, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Bryant,
I have none, no.
Diane,
No,
Amy, any discussion on minutes?
Nope, looks good.
Teresa?
No, thank you.
Okay, I just have two typos, Fred,
Okay,
and I wonder if I can find them now. In the massive paragraph on the second page, somewhere in here, there's a SONE, which I think is meant to be stone. I didn't circle it when I saw it.
I'll find it. Actually, I'm
Is that-
sure
oh,
Melanie.
oh,
is.
it's
Oh, it's about, let's see.
fourth or fifth sentence
I
down.
see the
Eight.
beginning of
It's
the
the eighth
eighth
sentence
line.
down on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
says crushed stone bed.
Yep.
I believe that's stone. And then the beginning of the next paragraph, I could use an E after the two R's in my name.
We can take care of that. Sorry.
All right. I have the greatest confidence in everyone here. So subject to those amendments, have a motion to approve and a second. Roll call vote. Bryant,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Teresa,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Minutes approved as amended. And finally, we didn't discuss the next meeting date of October 13th, but that would be our regular meeting date. And we just continued a review of an applicant to that date. So I assume everyone's okay with it.
Yep.
Sounds fine?
Yes.
Sounds fine. Fred, do you anticipate any other business or too early to say for that date?
I don't know of anything at this point. I tried to get everything before you tonight that I could. I know the ZBA is meeting on the 22nd and again on the 29th because they got a little backed up from the last meeting, but I don't know that I have anything else other than 56 Hudson Street. I did want to point out to folks that I think October 3rd is the Tuesday after Columbus Day weekend. So if anyone's
All right.
going away and doesn't think they'll return, bring your laptop with you.
Yep, yep. Very good. Any other concerns or comments from the committee members?
No,
Nope.
thank
Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
I
moved.
still move.
Okay, we've got two so moveds. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Amy seconded. I'll take Teresa moved. Amy seconded. Bryant,
Aye.
Diane,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Teresa,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So we are adjourned. Thank you all very much this evening. Fred, thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it. See
Aye.
you soon.
Take care,
Bye.
Melanie.
Take care.
Aye.
Drop down like that.